High above the Mississippi River, on a great limestone bluff overlooking a lake so wide it looks like the sea, runs a quiet trail through Bear March Woods. This ground has been a gathering place for more than 2,000 years, a French fort, a stone quarry, and a grand steamboat resort. Welcome to Frontenac State Park. We are on the Mississippi River in southeastern Minnesota, about 10 miles below the city of Red Wing, in Goodhue County. The park crowns a steep limestone bluff more than 400 feet high and 3 miles long, standing over Lake Pepin, and this trail runs along its forested rim. The huge lake below is Lake Pepin, and it is not a separate lake at all. It is the Mississippi itself, spread wide and slow where the sandy delta of the Chippewa River, entering from the Wisconsin side, dams the current back into a broad, deep pool. For centuries, this calm water has been a natural highway, a fishery, and a mirror for the bluffs that rise on either shore. The bluff we are walking is built of hard limestone laid down in ancient seas, then carved into towering cliffs by the great meltwater rivers of the Ice Age. It rises more than 400 feet straight up from the water, one of the most commanding viewpoints on the entire upper Mississippi, and a landmark travelers have steered by for generations. Riverboat captains gave this headland a curious name, Point No Point. From far downriver, the bluff seemed to jut clear across the channel, blocking the way, yet as a steamboat drew closer, the point melted back and the river opened again. A trick of perspective on a giant scale, it made the bluff famous long before it became a park. Near the bluff top stands a natural limestone arch the Dakota call In-Yan-Teopa, meaning the rock with an opening. It is a place of deep significance, a landmark and a sacred site, and it is a reminder that long before any map named this place Frontenac, it was known and honored by the people who lived here. People have lived on this bluff for a very long time. Village sites and burial mounds here belong to the Hopewell-culture, whose people lived and buried their dead on this high ground between about 400 years before the Common Era and 300 years after. For more than 2 millennia, this overlook has drawn human beings to its edge. In the centuries that followed, this was the homeland of the Dakota and of the Meskwaki people as well. The Dakota call this country Mni Sota Makoce, the land where the waters reflect the skies. Lake Pepin and its bluffs were a place of villages, hunting, and gathering, woven deeply into the life of the river people. The first Europeans arrived in 1680, when the missionary father Louis Hennepin and his party passed along these shores. among the earliest to describe the upper river to the wider world. They came as explorers and captives both, guided by the Dakota through a country that was entirely new to them and utterly familiar to their hosts. In 1727, a party from Montreal, led by René Boucher, came ashore near here and built Fort Beauharnois. It was meant as a base for trade with the Dakota and a stepping stone for French explorers still dreaming of a route to the Pacific. For a time, this quiet stretch of the Mississippi was a far outpost of New France. More than a century later came the Americans. The first American settler in these parts was a fur trader named James Wells, known as Bully Wells, who kept a trading post near the site of modern Frontenac by about 1840. His post marked the beginning of the end of the old fur trade world and the start of a new age of towns and steamboats. The bluff itself became a business. For 100 years, quarries here cut high-quality limestone prized by builders far and wide. In 1883, architects chose Frontenac stone for the great Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City, so that a piece of this Mni Sota bluff stands today in one of the largest cathedrals on Earth. The town the park is named for grew up below in the 1850s. One of its founders, Israel Garrard, returned after the Civil War with Southern craftsmen to build it into something rare, a fashionable summer resort. Wealthy families from New Orleans, St. Louis, and St. Paul came by steamboat to spend their summers on the cool, breezy shores of Lake Pepin. Beside the park stood Villa Maria, a Catholic academy for girls run by the Ursuline sisters from 1891 until 1969, when a fire finally closed its doors. For nearly 80 years, its students grew up in the shadow of this bluff, one more chapter in the long human story that has unfolded on this narrow shelf of stone between the woods and the water. Today, the bluff is famous for something older than any of it. Frontenac sits on the Great Mississippi Flyway, and every spring and fall its woods fill with migrating birds, hawks riding the updrafts along the cliff and warblers pouring through the treetops. The same high ground that drew mound builders and steamboats still draws life along the river, year after year. From a sacred stone arch to a French fort, from cathedral quarries to steamboat summers, every step along this bluff crosses another layer of the past, high above a river that has carried all of it. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.